But I want to give you an update right now on the Parkland school shooter trial out of Broward County, Florida. Today, the judge granted the state's motion to compel, ordering both the defendant's brother, Zachary Cruz, and his roommate, Richard Moore, to appear again for a deposition to answer questions regarding the incident. The defense is scheduled to start their case on Monday as planned, since no Daubert hearings are needed. The defense will not be relying on those brain scans that the state objected to. They will also not be using the expert that was supposed to use a chart comparing Cruz to 30 other people that had fetal alcohol syndrome. On Monday, they are going to transport Danielle Woodward, Cruz's sister, from the Dade County Jail to testify for him. If you don't recall, Nicholas Cruz's penalty phase is for his sole role in the shooting and killing of 17 people at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, on Valentine's Day in 2018. When he was just 19 years old. He pleaded guilty to 17 counts of murder and 17 counts of attempted murder back in October. A jury must decide life or death for the defendant. And we will be keeping tabs as things unfold in that case. So let's bring in my two great guests for today, Lisa Lockwood, Kurt Altman. Let's talk about the updates here we have coming out of Florida in the Nicholas Cruz trial. Lisa, I want to start with you. Why is it important for the jury to hear on the penalty phase from these witnesses that are going to be testifying in this trial?
These witnesses are the nearest and dearest and closest to Nicholas Cruz. So I think if anything, they would have true insight into how he behaved, how he acted, what he did, what he was involved in. Because you're only going to get that from people who are that close to him, somebody of his age range and that he had regular contact with. So very fortunate that that's going forward. And also, too, I think it was great that they were not able to come in with the brain scans, because they've already used information from the DSMV to find out what type of psychological issues that he had. And fetal alcohol syndrome is not included in the DSMV that shows all the different psychological ailments that somebody could have and the long-term effects of that.
Right. And Kurt, I want to get your take on this motion to compel. So these witnesses are going to be coming in to testify, the friend, the brother. And the defense wanted that evidence not to be put forth before this jury. And the state had to file that motion to compel, which they won. They were granted their motion by the judge. Why do you think the defense didn't want these witnesses to come into court and testify?
Well, I think primarily they're afraid of what they're going to say. I'm sure the state wants these witnesses to come in and testify to basically counteract or rebut some eventual psychological testimony, some testimony that kind of shows that Mr. Cruz was incapable of controlling his impulses, was incapable of actually thinking through these crimes. I think the state will get some evidence from those witnesses, or at least believe that they'll get some evidence from those witnesses that contradict that show that he does know what he's doing, that he was thinking clearly, and his actions before and after the incident. So, of course, the defense doesn't want to hear that. That's not going to be helpful to their case. They're going to try to show that Mr. Cruz just was unable to control what he was doing here, and therefore his life should be spared. These witnesses will probably contradict that.
Right. And Kurt, really, it's all about mitigation here on the defense side. Of course, he has pleaded guilty to the crimes. It's a real tragedy in the school, a real loss of life here. As a defense attorney, what are some of the building blocks of a defense's case when you're looking to mitigate a sentencing here from death, the death penalty, to life imprisonment? What are you looking to do in terms of achieving that goal for your client?
I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do, but I think ultimately in a case like this, you want to show the jury that there is some redeeming value in Mr. Cruz that is worth sparing his life. Death sentence is the ultimate punishment, and it's permanent. It can't be reversed. So what you want to do as a defense attorney is you want to say, hey, there is some value. This is a human who did some god-awful things, but it's a human who has redeeming value, and because of that, his life should be spared. He has something to offer. Society has something to offer him, and we shouldn't go to the permanent effects of the death penalty. There's some value in human life, and he's a human. Ultimately, that's the bottom line.
And Lisa, here we have the Parkland school shooting in court at trial. Of course, we've recently had another school shooting, which is grabbing the headlines, and that was the tragedy in Uvalde, Texas. How do you think, from a law enforcement perspective, as these tragedies occur, from a law enforcement perspective, how can law enforcement adapt and grow in order to counter what we have seen, unfortunately, time and time again in schools in this country?
Now, law enforcement is doing more training. There are more specialized training in the schools regarding multi-agency, how to enter, what to do, training for staff to detect anything that would look like a red flag for a student who is behaving in a certain way. With Uvalde, they had everything there. It did not make sense from all the school shootings we had leading up to that. They had the finances, they had the medical at the school, parents were called. So now we have to figure out, why was the ball dropped in so many different areas? And I'm a huge advocate for federal involvement, showing schools a format and a template saying, this is what needs to happen. This is the type of analysis that has to happen for children that are bullied, for schools to have better recognition, for staff to be trained, and there needs to be a template across the country. In addition, having police officers who actually have the firepower to return firepower in the event something like this happens. So hire off-duty police officers, military, National Guard, people who are equipped to protect the students, because I don't see it going away anytime soon.
Yeah, Lisa, no, absolutely. It's a real tragedy that we see, unfortunately, happen time and again. And we are all trying to find that formula to figure out how to counter these tragedies going forward.